Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Collar Wife podcast. I am so happy that you're here. How y'all week's been going? I'm going to start off like that. My week has been a very interesting and productive week as always, but I can't complain. I can't complain. I've learned lessons in life. I have learn how to move forward and how to pray about anything that I feel as if that's beyond my control. But how about you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? How is life treating you on today, this week, and almost a whole month? It's almost the month of April is almost is over, next week. Yeah. But anyway, I'm hoping you all is doing well. As always, I thank you so much for coming to this podcast. If you're liking this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and rate. And leave a comment. I would definitely love to hear from you on this podcast and any podcast that I have. But today, y'all, I have quite a few things I want to talk about. First of all, I went and got my hair done today. I went to a old school beautician or stylist who does not require me to have my hair washed and blow dried before I get to her. I want to throw that out there. I went to an old school one that, she washed and blow dried and style and all that stuff. And so I got my hair trimmed and colored. I'm trying to get my hair back more healthy. My hair has gone through a lot of changes. As you get older, your hair goes through a lot of changes. And so I just wanted to get my hair done to give like a fresh start, get a fresh boost, to trim off a lot of my dead ends that I had. I had a lot of dead ends. And just to have, start with a fresh, healthy hair that I can work with. So I got that done today. And as always, when you go to a beauty salon, if you go to an old school one, we're talking about all the latest topics and stuff that's going on. The one that I go to, we always talk about, things that women go through in the church and as a society from a Christian base. And as always, that topic came up about women that's in my age range. And I'm not talking about the younger girls, but the younger girls can learn from this. But how we are still the most disrespected human being on earth is women. Always been that way. And what's so sad about it is the Bible doesn't even mention for us being disrespected like this, but we are. The Bible has been used on us as a weapon by men, but the Bible never treat us like that. The Bible didn't look at us as a secondhand citizen. The Bible, talks about the value it is that he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. That's the scripture. But yet we're the most disrespected human being on this planet. And it is very sad because as far as advanced as technology is, we're still struggling to get one piece of equality, just a smidgen. And I'm not talking about this whole movement that is going on where women have got this vibe frame that I don't need a man because I'm not that girl. I love my husband. I'm not her. But what I'm saying is, as young women are dating, even older women my age are dating, we're still fighting to be catered and pampered as a woman that we are because we're the softer vessel, and we're still fighting to get that. We're still fighting to get that. So let me jump into something. The first thing about women, the first thing we got to do as a woman is that we got to respect ourselves first. That's it. I mean, we could talk a whole 30 minutes about that. We as women, we got to respect ourselves first. My beautician, we was talking and she was talking about this friend of hers had went out on a date with this with this man, with this man. And he took her to Red Lobster. Now, she said it, I didn't, but she said Red Lobster is like a high-end Captain D's. And he took her out on a date, and then afterwards he took her back to his place, and she felt as if, well, he wanted me to sit on his lap. So I knew that I had to sleep with him because, he took me out on a date. And she was like, and I was too, but you didn't. You could have said, I'm going home, good night. And with this woman is like in her late 50s and or her mid 50s. And she still felt that 20-year-old girl obligation when he took me out to eat, so I know what's coming up next. And it shouldn't be. And that's the thing. We as women, we have lost so much respect for ourselves, and we put ourselves in this stigma of, well, he took me out, so I got to sleep with him. That's not you giving him a pay for doing that. If he wanted to sleep with you, then he should just told you that up front, and then you could have decided. Or if he took you out to eat and you didn't want to sleep with him, and that's what's on his mind, you'd be like, well, I'm finna go home, and he could say whatever he wanted to say about you. But you shouldn't feel like you were obligated because he paid for a meal for you at bootleg, a notch up Red Lobster. Like, come on. And I was just like, I could understand if she was in her early 20s because, in your 20s, you're still trying to figure yourself out and you're still trying to learn yourself or what have you. But to still be having that same mind frame in your mid 50s and 60s, that let me know you haven't mentally grown up, because to me that's childish, that's child stuff. And like I told her, I could not date in this day society because men that still have that mind frame and they're old like that, they haven't grown up either. And so I was saying to her, as women, in order for us to get men to respect us, we first got to learn how to respect ourselves. How can you make somebody to respect you when you don't respect you? And it's not a man's responsibility to make you respect yourself. It is your responsibility for you to respect your own self. And it's sad because we have women. We're the example. Us generation Z X, generation not X, with X and millennials, older millennials and Generation X. We're not the example for the younger millennials and Generation Z, and we don't even respect ourselves. Some of us are still in our late 30s, mid 40s, early 50s, all of that, and we're still trying to respect ourselves as women. That is a shame. So the first thing is we got to learn how to respect yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing, you got to learn how, well, it's not even the second thing. It can go in with respect ourselves. You got to learn how to deal with you. I have a friend of mine who had a hard time dating and didn't want to be by herself because she was like, I just don't want to be alone. And I remember telling her, if you can't stand being alone with you, how you expect a man to want to be with you if you can't be with you? And I'm a big advocate, a big, big, big advocate on when you break up in a relationship, you should have some space before you start dating. Because number one, you got to learn from the lesson. You got to learn from why did this breakup happen? What was your fault in for the breakup to happen? Now, if it was a toxic relationship where you were dealing with a narcissist and an abuser, there's nothing that you can really do about that. But you still need some space because you got to get over that mentality of being with somebody that's a narcissist and somebody that's an abuser. Because if you don't get over it, then you're going to find yourself back into another relationship like that. But you couldn't do anything to save that. I'm just being honest. But you still need that space for the lesson of it, to learn the lesson for it, to learn what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with, what you need to grow from and what you need to die in your next relationship. I'm a big advocate of having that gap of learning you, because you have given so much of yourself in that relationship that sometimes you'll lose yourself and you get delusional about what you want and what you don't want. And so afterwards, when you come out of that relationship, you have to think about, you know, was this something I really wanted? What was something that, was good in that relationship that I would like to have in my next one? Or was something like, it's just a no, I'm not putting up with this in my next relationship. Then you got to learn about, okay, so what did I lose in myself in that relationship that I want to gain back and to keep, that I feel as it's a positive? And I've said positive. And then you got to learn and say, what did I have in that relationship that was a negative, that was detrimental into the separation in that relationship? So I'm a big advocate of learning you after you get finished with a relationship, because because I was like that myself, but I had to stop. But I've seen women, they break up with a guy, 3 months later they're with another guy, and oh, he's the one. And as women, we fall in love so quickly. And I'm often asked myself, how in the world do we fall in love with somebody so quickly when we don't even know if that's what we really need or want? I could never figure that out. And so I have gotten to the point that when I had started dating, I took a gap. I took a long gap before I got into my next relationship, and my next relationship led me up to being married. But it was necessary for me. It was very necessary for me, because the relationship that I was in, that I'm about to lead up to, made me step back and say, okay, every guy that you dated has the same pattern. It's you. And you need to step back and figure out what you want and what you don't want in a relationship. Um, that's the whole respect thing. Because the relationship that I was in a relationship with a married man. The man was, he was saying that his wife wasn't making him happy, and this, and this. Yes, your girl who was going to church. And that's the thing. Like me and the girl, my girlfriend who was doing my hair, excuse me, as we was talking, we don't have these conversations in church, but we should, because you don't know who you're reaching when you're talking about stuff like this. But yes, I was in a relationship with a married man, honest to God truth. And, he gave me this line, it's not easy as you think, it takes time. You got to be patient with me. And I had to tell myself, you're going to keep stringing yourself with this man, and this man is not going to leave this woman, and you don't wasted all these years waiting on this man, and he hasn't left. And there's something that, my stylist was saying. She was saying, you don't know what kind of wife he got at home. He may have a praying wife. And you don't know the prayers that God would be answering for her if I kept messing around with this married man. So when I cut him loose, I cut him loose, because I was just like, I got to respect myself enough to realize that this man is not leaving his wife. And I'm wasting my time and being crazy, following behind him, thinking he's going to be with me and he's going to leave his wife. And he's not. And he didn't. He did not leave his wife. So that's where the self-respect come in. You got to respect you. And if you can't respect you, then how you expect anybody else to do? How? How? The next thing as women that we got to do is we got to learn how to respect each other. I'm going to let that marinate. As women, we got to learn how to respect each other. We are the most damaging to each other than any group of people I know. And I know because I'm a woman and I've been a woman all my life. I just didn't wake up. I'll get something to drink, y'all. I didn't just wake up and just say to myself, oh, I want to be a woman today. I was born in this. I was born into this one. And as women, we are the most disrespectful group of people there is. We are so disrespectful to each other because I don't know why. We just have this mentality of not respecting each other. And I'm going to give you a prime example, because I work outside my home. And A little incident happened that came up, and I work in the office with a bunch of women. So pray for you, girl. But an incident happened at work, and the women in the office, they automatically turned on each other and started disrespecting each other. I was heartbroken about how disrespectful, as a woman, we had became, because it was just one woman who was very disrespectful to us. And I'm thinking, we're working all of this together. We're really the brains in this office, and for the disrespect to happen so quickly. And I realize as women that when we disrespect each other, it's easier for a man to disrespect us as well. We have no value for each other. We have no value for each other. Women will talk about each other's weight. We'll talk about each other's hair texture. We'll talk about our style of dressing. We talk about what we would and wouldn't put up with a man when you still got that type of man at your home, probably even worse. We talk about how we raise a person's children. We talk about the car they drive, the house they have, the income they make. Like, we are so nitpicky of each other. We're our own critic. And it's easy for a man to disrespect. I look at these Real Housewives or whatever the reality shows with all the women, and I see them fighting and arguing and cussing, and I'm thinking to myself, take that mess off. Shut them type of shows down, because it shows the light of women in a negative way. It doesn't show anything positive about us. Only thing it shows that we're backstabbing, cattling women that want to fight and stay drunk. That's all it shows. It doesn't show any positivity about being a woman. And it's more to us than that. It is so much more to us than that. And we are now having children that's coming up having that same mentality of, I can't respect that, beep, 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 because what they've seen on television. And it's sad. It is absolutely sad. We are the most critical of each other. We gotta come out of that. We gotta come out of that. And I know it was done back in the day, but I think now it's just even worse. Like, it's just, oh my God. Oh my God. It's so much worse. Like, I've never seen women who get on social media and gloat about, yeah, I'm sleeping with her husband and would. Like, like we have gotten so that we don't respect each other. And y'all, we gotta stop. How can you expect God to bless us if we can't respect us? You know? So that's the second thing. We got to learn how to respect each other. Number 3 is we got to be willing to teach the young. Back in the day, we had this mentality of, we're not going to share our business or our secrets because we don't want nobody to look bad. We don't want the family to look bad. We don't want people to think, a certain thing about us. And how can we help the younger girls and the younger ladies coming up if we don't tell them about our own life experiences where they can feel comfortable enough in the mistakes that they make? Me and my beautician, we was talking, and people would have never thought I was in a relationship with a married man, just the way I carry myself. But I was, and I learned. I learned a lot from that. People would never learn that I was in a relationship with a guy who was, semi, abusive mentally. People never thought that, but I learned, and I grew from that. You understand? People don't know that, I was still figuring out what man I wanted to be with. So I was sleeping with men in different places. People didn't know that, but I learned and I grew from it. And it's a process to grow from things. But when I grow from it, I'm not going to sit up here and do like this. And when I see a young lady make a mistake, instead of me soothing her in her mistake, I either keep silent or judge. No. As women, we are the ones that got to teach the young about, the mistakes that I made so they don't make them. Or if they make them, love them into coming out of it. And we're so busy as women that we're willing to watch another sister fall or watch another sister struggle instead of being the teacher to teach them, I've been where you've been. I know what you're going through, and I promise you, you're going to be okay. We don't want to do that. And I don't understand why. I really, I really don't understand why, but we don't want to do that. And a lot of times, a lot of the mistakes that are being made by young ladies, it could be prevented if somebody will open their mouth and have the heart and the compassion to say, hey, I know what you're going through. It ain't worth it, or that ain't it, or stop them before they go down that road. Because eventually, they're going to have to become the teachers, and you don't want them to be like how the old saints used to be, folding their hand and watching you fall. You don't want that. You do not want that. And so that's why I have such an open relationship with my daughter. I don't pretty much hide anything from her, because I want her to know, number one, she's human. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go through some things. That's just life. You're human. Stuff's going to come at you that the enemy is going to throw at you, and you're going to struggle with it, and you got to pray and ask God to deliver you from it, because it's life. That's just what life does. But I want to have that open relationship with her so she know that, what you're going through, don't think you're the only one that went through it, because 9 out of 10, somebody that going through that same thing. Because spirits is travel and it's hereditary. And when you have a spirit in your family that's hereditary, you need to be the one that breaks that cycle. And I'm the one that broke that cycle with my daughter, because I don't know a whole lot about my mom history and the struggles that she went through, because, she was raised in that society that you don't talk or tell. But I was open with my daughter, and I talked to her about everything that I went through as a young lady, in dating, in relationship, in life. I talk about it to her because I don't want her to go out there in that world and feel as if she just added by herself. No. I have open conversations with her. And I think that as older saints, because believe it or not, we're the older saints, we need to have this talk. Be open about the struggles as a woman that we went through, even the ones that are painful. It was very painful to me to discuss about my daughter when I was sexually assaulted. Very painful. But I had that talk with her so she can be aware of the signs of what she needed to be watchful for. But I had that conversation because it needed to be had. And the last thing, as a woman in today's society, is that don't be ashamed of being a woman. Don't be ashamed of being a woman. Being a woman now has become a embarrassment, because we were born as being a woman and we're viewed as the lesser value. We've always given up everything. We've given up our rights to vote, and we had to gain that. We had to give up our rights to our own body, but we had to gain to get that back. Now we got to give up almost the right of being called a woman. And I don't know how we got here. I really, never in a million years that I thought that I had to fight with a man about being a woman. I never thought that. I thought that me born as a woman, that's what I was born in. I didn't think I had to go through all these labels just to be called a woman. That a woman, I got to be labeled something, but not just be called a woman. And I have no words. I really and truly have no words. The struggle that the women in our past had to go through to give us an ounce of right. And now we're struggling just to keep our name as just a woman. Just being a woman, we got to fight to keep that. That's a lot. That is mind-boggling to me that we have to struggle with that. And don't be ashamed of it. Do not be ashamed to call yourself a woman. Do not be ashamed to call yourself a woman. You a woman. I don't care what society tell you. I don't care what social media tell you. Sweetheart, you are a woman. And even though we have to fight with all these masses and all these people and all this stuff, you're still a woman. You still go through emotions as a woman because it's more than the woman than the outer of appearance. And I think that's what a lot of people miss the mark. It's more to being a woman than this. It's a lot that goes on here. It's a lot that goes internally with us that I don't think a man will ever understand. You will never understand it. It's here and here. These are the two areas in the mind and in the physical parts of a woman. We go through so much. And I don't think that a man will understand, can handle, and deal with as a woman. I don't think they can. And when you got to fight to tell the definition of what a woman is, that's a lot. That is a lot. So never be ashamed of being a woman. You're needed because if there's no you, there will be no nation. If there's no you, there is no nation. No nation. All right? But all right, y'all. I didn't make it too long. I don't think I did. But I hope I didn't. But if I did, it had to be said. But I thank you so much for stopping by. If you love this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. And you have a great day.